What's up, you guys? Let's talk about UFC 261, namely Rose Namajunas' knockout and Usman's knockout. I want to talk about both of them. Obviously, the main event and the co-main event, not just because of that though, but because both of those finishes use the same basic principle in order to achieve the knockout, and that was feints. So we'll start with Rose, just because it's easier. Jess and I have both trained with her. One thing I want to talk about is in Muay Thai, at least the way it was taught to Jess and I from Ajahn Chai, is something that we call the hop kick. And it's something that's used to close distance, especially when the person defending is fading out of the way of the kick. So one of the ways to defend a kick in Muay Thai, and whether it's the low or the middle kick, is to just step backwards. Okay? And that's the low kick. If it's a middle kick, same thing. And you notice that she brings her hands forward on the middle kick to get him out of the way. If she leaves her hands and just sinks her hips, this technically still lands, and that sounds like I hit her, looks bad to judges. Under Muay Thai rules, that counts as a landed strike. So you do this to keep distance from their hands so you don't get punched, but also to move your elbow, yeah, but also to move your elbows out of the way from getting hit in the body when you're evading. So one of the ways I, as the attacker, can counter this is to do what's called a hop kick. So what I do is I show, as she fades back, I put this down and basically take a step forward to land the kick. So kind of full speed-ish, it looks like this. Okay? And with the left, it's the exact same. The left is a little bit harder just because it's easy with the right to step forward. It's a lot like just walking. With the left, you have to lift and still hit the switch as you step forward. So I want to throw the kick, but she's fading out of the way. So I do the same thing. I show it and hop in to hit it, whether it's the low kick or the middle kick or the high kick. Because as we know, when she wants to evade the middle kick, she sticks her arms out, which leaves her head open, which is exactly what Rose did. So it looked like this. Bong! Now, the other thing that I think I've watched several other videos talking about Rose's knockout, and they cover this kind of feint that she was doing. And Rose fights that way to begin with, right? She's very throws a lot more feinting and movement than a lot of other girls do. That's just her style. But I think the thing that I haven't seen anyone talk about is that she also faked out Weili with her eyes. Okay? So I've heard a lot of people saying that Weili was nervous and she made a mistake, and she even said that. But I would argue that actually Weili did exactly everything right. It's just that Rose changed her game plan to turn that into her favor. So when Rose lifts her leg, she looks at the low kick, and then as she steps in, throws the high kick. She telegraphs with her eyes. So she pump faked the shoulder and then lifted this, looked straight at her leg, hopped in for the high kick. Okay? So one more time. Bing. Now, Usman's knockout used the exact same principle of feinting and using what Masvidal was actually doing successfully throughout the fight to his favor. So one thing that Masvidal was doing that longer fighters can get away with is, in order to land, and Usman's got an excellent jab, his 1 and 2 are like some of the best in the UFC, in my opinion. He was landing them even during the fight. But one way that Masvidal was able to defend this was using his length in order to counter Usman. So you see it where Usman was having to take a giant step forward in order to land this. to overcome the distance. Okay? So as he took this giant step forward, Masvidal was parrying and going back, and then loading up this hook. So as he threw the two, he was getting cracked with this hook, okay? So it was just like this, bang, throughout the fight. Now, Usman noticed this, and I think obviously he made an awesome adjustment, and that was when he took a little step, he got Masvidal to do the parry. He feinted him. And then he took a step and grabbed here so that if Masvidal moved back, it actually pulled him with him, or it can pull him now into this straight, and a straight line beats the circle every single time. Okay, you hear that all the time. Straight punches beat loopy punches. Okay, so he stepped the little fake. As Masvidal went to parry, he grabbed him and then threw the two, and it just landed before the hook could land that time. And he, with pulling Masvidal into this and being able to pull myself, those two forces together, you see him fall over on top of Masvidal. There was so much power behind that shot. So the same kind of principle with the fake with this leg, right? He goes, bang. And it was awesome. So really quick, I'm going to break down the hop kick into the different parts so you can practice it on your own. So in Muay Thai especially, our hips are pretty square. So my feet line up with her feet. Okay? The game in striking a lot of times is who can get outside of whose feet, if you ever watch, like boxing especially. But for this particular one, I'm going to use my rear leg because it's just a little bit easier. I'm going to show as they fade back. I'm going to put this down. As I put this down, I'm stepping off of her center line. I'm stepping off her center line and opening up, so now I'm already wound up to throw this. Okay, so a little bit faster, it's going to go. Okay, and so with the left leg, it's going to be a little bit more difficult just because of the way our legs are, with the lead leg, I should say, if you're southpaw. But it's going to be the same. I'm going to show this, and as I put this down is when I have to do my switch. So I talk about doing the switch kick where you're not hopping and switching your feet to throw the left. You're sliding your feet together, okay? So as little movement as you can get up here, okay? So I have to do that basically in midair. So as I show this, I have to do that to cover the ground. And it's the same as the other one where I want to slide that foot to the outside of her body. An advanced thing to add the movement and the holding to mix the two together. And this one will take some time, so it's okay to do it slow for a really long time. I'm going to show the fake with my right. And as she goes to parry my right hand, I'm grabbing this here and sidestepping while pulling her to the side.
Oh, yeah.
Bang. So it's going to go bang. And they don't even need to bite on the fake. You can just reach out and grab this. Bang. Bang. So you can start mixing these up. It can go bang. So then you can start having fun. So just using feints as a way to mix up rhythm, keep your opponent reactive, because you always want to be the one that's dictating the activity, whether that's lulling them and making them think they're in charge or whatever. You don't want to be the one reacting. So getting them to react to you is like the first step to gaining momentum in a fight. Oish. She's cool. I don't know about you, but when I first trained with her, I was like, dang, she's a 115er? She's coming at me like she's a 155er.
Dude, I partnered with her and I was like, it's the the only other girl. She's smaller than me, but that's okay. And then got my ass handed to me. Like
Right.
I was wrestling her against the wall and just got annihilated. And I was like, well, I suck.